Hi guys, my name is Uttich. I'm a 2003 initiate of the Alpha Lambda chapter of Delta Sigma Phi at Millikan University in Decatur, Illinois. And I am speaking with you today about professional dress and how to dress for interviews, dressing for success, and wanted to have a couple of minutes with you guys just to talk about leveling up on your wardrobe and making sure you hit kind of all the bullet points you should hit when getting ready for interviews or chapter events or certain classes where you might need to dress better than average. My wife and I opened a custom clothing store in Chicago in January of 2015, and it's been about 3 years and 8 months since that happened. We specialize in making custom men's suits, pants, vests, jackets, tuxedos, top coats, and shirts, and we sell some accessories as well. I remember being a freshman and getting the email about Brooks Brothers discount, a corporate discount with Brooks Brothers. And so for anybody who's curious out there and lives or travels in Chicago, we always do a Delta Sig discount too, just to get back to some brothers. What I wanted to start with first was talking about how difficult it can be to dress up while you're in college. Typically we're on budgets. We are in need of something that doesn't look very inexpensive, but oftentimes that's all we can afford. And so one of the best things I'll tell people to do, especially if they come into any store that I've worked at and they can't afford something, is to say the first thing you can do is go to a thrift store, a secondhand store, or better yet, take something from a family member, or if you're in a fraternity, an older brother or your big brother, new member dad or something like that, and repurpose it. Oftentimes local dry cleaners have somebody who can do alterations on site, and hemming a pair of pants, taking in the waist of a pant, taking in the sides of a jacket, or shortening the sleeves of the jacket are relatively easy alterations that should cost no more than $10 on one end to $50, $75 on the other end for each individual alteration, and you can turn a $10 suit into something much nicer and nicer looking if you have the opportunity. The interesting part about getting dressed up, I think that most people forget, is that you can do it for fun. And I didn't necessarily mean to wear a wool and linen suit today with a green shirt and a pocket square, but this is something I can wear out to dinner. It's something I can wear to somebody else's wedding if I put on a nice navy blue tie or dark brown tie with a pair of brown shoes. It's something I can dress down if I wanted to take this dress shirt off and wear with a t-shirt. And I think most people nowadays are comfortable wearing comfortable clothes. And it's interesting to talk about comfort because a suit that you have fitted to you, whether or not it's custom made or otherwise, can oftentimes be much more comfortable than a t-shirt and jeans. And so we always encourage people, whether they're clients of ours or friends or family or something like that, to get dressed up and dress up for fun. Specifically for guys, I always like to harp that if you're going on a date with a girl, if she's wearing shoes with heels, make sure you wear a jacket, because it always looks like she got real dressed up for you and you did not get dressed up for her. Funnily enough, in regards to comfort and high heels, typically women don't wear high heels because they're comfortable. Women wear high heels because aesthetically it can make your silhouette look better. And so we don't like to make comfortable suits in that they're big sack suits that are just oversized. Oftentimes we want something that is slimming where it needs to be, and we remove fabric where we don't need it, and we add fabric to where we need it, depending on somebody's build or otherwise. And that's something that you should be conscientious of, especially if you take a pair of pants to a tailor to have slimmed or something like that. That you want a certain silhouette. Be opinionated about that. If you want a certain level of comfort while you're sitting down, or if you have to do something more than just sit at a desk in those pants, that you need to be conscientious about what your level of comfort is at, and then also where your style is at, and how modern you want to dress, whether that's on one end of the spectrum in a sack suit, on the other end of the spectrum in a skinny suit. Most of the time we like everybody, and by we I mean most of the world wants everybody to be right in the middle. Suits have existed for 240 plus years as we know them today, and don't look to be changing too drastically every decade or so. And so getting something that's classic is always a good place to start for building a wardrobe. When I say classic, one of the best things to do is start with a navy blue suit, especially if you're on a budget. meaning you can wear the jacket by itself as a blue blazer, which is very much a staple in many men's wardrobes. You can wear that jacket with a pair of gray trousers to still dress it up for a formal meeting. You can wear that jacket with a pair of khakis to a function, charity function, or a mixer. And then you can also wear it with a pair of jeans out to dinner. And that jacket becomes very versatile, especially if it's well fitted, especially if the fabric is durable, and that the construction of the garment is up to par, up to standards. We'll talk about construction in a second. The other thing to do is take advantage of the full suit together in different situations. As I mentioned before, I can dress the suit that I'm wearing down, I can dress it up. The same thing goes for a navy blue suit. And then on the flip side, after a navy blue suit, it's always nice to add a gray suit to give some contrast to your closet to break things up. Oftentimes, you can get away with wearing 2 suits in a given kind of 3 business day work week. You can wear something casual on a Friday. You can wear something dressy in the blue suit, kind of semi-formal, if you will, in the gray suit, and mix it up with your wardrobe. It's very easy to get dress shirts. It's very easy to get ties or pocket squares or socks or belts or shoes, and those things can drastically change what a blue suit and a gray suit looks like. So when some guys come in and they say, well, what 5 suits should I own? We always tell them it's better to own 1 or 2 really well-fitted suits that are well-made than own 5 suits that don't fit you that well. So after the 2 suits in your closet, oftentimes it's nice to have well-fitted dress shirts, again, to give you your closet some breadth and some depth, and that way you can take advantage of little accessories there and after. The important part about dressing for business circumstances is to make sure that you don't overdo it. Oftentimes, I think many guys get scared or nervous that they're going to be too flashy or too modern. And specifically in kind of 2013 to 16, we went the other direction, and a lot of guys were getting aggressive in how slim their suits were. But oftentimes, if you have solid colored clothes or kind of subtly textured colored clothes, and that goes for ties, that goes for shirts, that goes for suit, and even things like socks, is the things that people are going to see. You know, if you sit down, people see your socks. But the things that people are going to see, I think it's nice to pare all down the level of patterns. Kind of especially in ties, because ties are very easy to go overboard and get something that's fuchsia and plaid and noisy, wherein you could have something very simple that kind of represents your style, especially if it's well-fitted, because a well-fitted garment, whether it's a shirt or a sport coat or a full suit, goes a long way. And I think a lot of guys get tricked into thinking, well, if I have this loud tie, it's just going to look fancy because I'm wearing a tie, when in fact the effects are quite the opposite. To finish off the wardrobe staples, we like to make sure that our clients have access to decent shoes. Most of the time, shoes are purchased incorrectly. And when I say incorrectly, I mean they're not welted shoes, Goodyear welted, Norwegian welted, or otherwise, and they're just glued together. The construction of a garment is very important, and that goes for shoes as well. So get a nice pair of shoes that are welted. Great examples would be Meerman, Allen Edmonds, Alden, St. Crispin's if you want to do something fancier. There's a lot of different types of shoes in the world that are welted, and typically they're above average in price and can get very expensive, but ultimately that shoe is going to last you 3 to 7 times as long as a shoe that you find that's glued together where the soles wear out and you can't re-sole that shoe over time. Similarly, in regards to suit jackets, most of the world glues a suit together. There's a textile that we invented in the 1950s in America called a fusible. It went on the inside of a suit and using heat get adhered to the outer part of the suit. And a fused suit is typically kind of the beginning of the downfall of somebody's tailored experience. Ultimately, a fused suit doesn't breathe as well, traps the heat in, you get very hot in that suit, and if anybody's ever worn a rented tuxedo before, you know how hot they can get. Ultimately, when you button the jacket, the chest tends to buckle out quite a bit, especially if you have a broad chest or a wide set of shoulders. To explain why a fused suit exists, on the flip side, typically a suit has a piece of canvas on the inside of it, or a nicer constructed suit nowadays has a piece of canvas on the inside. The canvas is typically wool. It's interfaced with horsehair, which adds some memory and some breathability to the garment. It tends to fit you better the more you wear it. And if you were kind of just getting out of college and you wanted your first nice suit, and if a family member was giving you a gift card somewhere and you wanted something better than average, typically you'd want to make sure that the suit you're buying has at least a half canvas, if not a full canvas on the inside. This is an unlined jacket, but you can at least see the canvas that's on the inside of the jacket itself. Get out of the sun. That's on the inside of the jacket. So typically there's a full lining on the inside of the suit. You wouldn't be able to see it. But when I say fuse suit, I typically mean your H&Ms and Zara's, J. Crew, Men's Warehouse, the base level at Brooks Brothers, the base level at Ralph Lauren are typically fuse suits. And ultimately, they just don't last as long. So a canvas suit's going to last you a lot longer. It's a better investment. Of course, there are business majors out there. You want to do a good job investing in your clothes because they will go a long way for you. The construction is important for a lot of our clients, and we want to make sure that people understand how garments are constructed. And the best thing you can do is ask questions. Oftentimes we'll get questions from people who don't live in Chicago, and they'll say, I live in Minneapolis, or I live in Miami. Where do I find a good tailor to do alterations? Where do I find a good dry cleaner? And sometimes the best way to do it is to ask the best dressed guy that you know. Ask somebody who's older. Usually they've been around the block and they have issues with their clothes that they've had to tend to. And you could very quickly find out kind of the easy access or resources that easy access points, but the resources in your location, and that goes for people in your chapter as well. I'm sure there's a guy who dresses above average, and he can answer some questions for you. The other thing that's out there is the internet, and it's a lovely place to be. You can go down some rabbit holes in regards to men's clothing. There's some really great sites out there like Art of Manliness and Gentleman's Gazettes and Valet Mag, and of course resources like periodicals and magazines and your Esquires and GQs. The Rake magazine is a lovely magazine, and they'll teach you a lot of things. There's a lot of things that can be learned from these resources. Not everything should be taken into account, and you shouldn't wear the suit that's on the cover of GQ to your interview with a law firm in rural Iowa. There are circumstances. And you want to make sure that you don't overstep your boundaries. And if you think you are, one of the great things to do is ask friends and family and other students, other brothers in the chapter. Take a picture of yourself in a suit and say, hey, do you like the way this shirt color looks in regards to my skin tone? Women can be wonderful resources because usually they're brutally honest when it comes to clothes, and they can, their opinions go a long way. And at the end of the day, everybody's opinions about your clothes can be beneficial, but they're not always right. And so you need to do what's good for you, and that's the other benefit of having a good tailor, a good clothier that you can chat with and ask questions to, and so on and so forth. So I wanted to make sure that before we finish today, that you guys know that as specifically as college students, that as you approach kind of your own idea of style and how your wardrobe is built out, that you should just start small. And it's most important to invest in nicer quality clothes that's not fast fashion, that's not going to fall apart that quickly. You also need to take care of your clothes. And when you get that nice blue suit, make sure to not order the red sauce pasta while you're wearing it. You get that new pair of shoes. Don't wear them out when you know it's going to storm. Bring the shoes in a briefcase and put on a pair of boots. Wear a top coat that can protect your suit, or raincoat to protect your suit. We joke about taking advantage of awnings and umbrellas and garment bags and taxis that can pull up next to a building, especially if it's downpouring. There are a lot of little things that you can do to kind of elongate the lifespan of the garments that you invest in. And a good one is not dry cleaning things too often. And as I mentioned before, doing the things that cause the least amount of wear on the garment. So not resting your elbow on the car, on the door of the car while you're driving for an hour and a half. And you notice elbows rip out. Same thing with if you're sitting at a desk and using a mouse and your elbows rip out. Typically, starching your shirts can cause that to happen over time. Don't wear your jacket while you're sitting in the car. Bring an extra hanger to the office so you can hang it up in the back of the door versus just on your chair and sitting on it. So the little things, if something happens to your clothes regularly, Usually it's either A, because you're buying inferior product, 2, you're doing something to it you shouldn't be doing you shouldn't be doing to it. But the third thing is it's probably inferior product, and we want to make sure we in the tailoring business want to make sure that you have something and that you get a lot of use out of it, and therefore it justifies paying extra for something that's quality. A white shirt goes a long way, and there's something to be said about a really crisp, clean white shirt. So I know that was a lot of information. It was a quick talk, and I talked a lot, but if there are any questions that you have, by all means, you guys can talk to us here at BLVDier. That's the name of our store in Chicago, and our website is just BLVDier.com. We're happy to answer any questions, and of course, if you live in Chicago or travel to Chicago, we'd love to see you in the store. If you can make an appointment on our website. But regardless, thanks for having me. Kristen and Nathan at headquarters, congrats on getting the Delta Sig Talks going, and wish you guys the most success.